Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to the Otherz podcast. I am your host, Stephen Penny, your only host this week. That's because I'm bringing you a special summer bonus, let's say. This has been in the works for quite a few months. We managed to pull this off yesterday, so I'm hoping you enjoy this. Yesterday I was in Turku in Finland for the Ruisrock festival, which, if you follow us on Instagram, you may have seen that N.E.R.D were headlining, in fact. So I made the trip up there, just planning originally to watch the show, thanks to Brent, who hooked us up some great VIP passes to actually get in there and hang out. But as the time approached for the festival, I was emailing back and forth with some certain people, trying to get some time with people within N.E.R.D. And somehow, I don't know how, I don't know why, Shae agreed to dial in and talk to me. We agreed a time and a time period and some questions that we would discuss. So I was in a meeting room in a hotel. Shae was in his hotel room through Skype. So you'll have to excuse the not great audio quality on this. But Shae blessed me with some time. He was open to talk about pretty much anything, which he does during this kind of short interview. So listen in and hopefully you really enjoy it. I'm not going to talk now too much about the event itself and stuff that happened at the event, which people again may have seen on Instagram. That will come, I guess, in the next couple of weeks when I'm back from summer holidays and we have a new podcast to go out. So that will also be coming soon. But in the meantime, sit back, listen to this interview with Shae. And I also have to say a massive shout out to the people that helped arrange this. So Brent, Alex and Cori at Otherz and Pharrell's management team, Pharrell himself, Shae himself, Chad, also Mike, who we saw, and everyone else from the Otherz team, Pharrell's management team, the dancers, the band, every person we bumped into who was super friendly, made us feel so welcome, and yeah, a great experience, which we'll talk about more in the future. But yeah, in the meantime, here's the interview and enjoy.
Yeah, hey. Thanks with the name. What's up?
Hey, do you mind if I take a picture of this?
No, not at all.
Thank you, I really appreciate that. Let me just, man, we post that on Instagram later, people are going to go mad. I know you don't do an awful lot of this stuff, so as I already said, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. I appreciate you taking the time to do 2 years worth of research, man, to put together a podcast and spread the awareness.
Oh man, well I'm an OG fan. I've seen you guys. I think today will be, because I've travelled up to Turku. I live in Helsinki, but this will be my 14th time seeing you, I think.
Wow.
So I've been to every UK show you've done, bar like 2, I think.
Wow.
Okay. So yeah, you've been in most of them. I think some of them have been like Pharrell, separate things, but yeah, I think you're there sort of on most occasions. So I'm taking my kid today for the first time as well. He's a mad fan of yours, you specifically.
Oh wow.
So he's just off having a walk somewhere, but he will be mad that like I actually saw you and spoke to you.
Dope, man. Well, listen, thank you, man, because if it wasn't for people like you and a lot of the, a lot of kids, a lot of the younger kids wouldn't know about, the previous work that N.E.R.D and the Neptunes have done over the years. So the fact that you guys are out here championing and spreading, and educating the youth, on music, that means a lot,
It's good. This is feedback we get from fans regularly. A lot of fans are a lot younger than you or I or my co-hosts, right. And they're kind of quite new to music in general and new to N.E.R.D, obviously, because the resurgence again recently of with the album and a lot of stuff like P is doing separately as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we get a lot of feedback. People like new to it, new to the fashion, to the all the
Right.
OG like N.E.R.D memorabilia and all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. So it's really good to be able to kind of try and give some of this information back to them.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So
For
that kind
sure.
of like leads into I guess like a first question I've got.
Mm-hmm.
You yourself, you kind of have this, I think, cult following is one way to put it,
Mm-hmm.
amongst N.E.R.D fans. Yeah, I've been to gigs where they're not shouting other people's name; they're shouting for Shae,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not out there in the public eye that much. You kind of aware of this kind of cult status that you have amongst the fans.
To be honest, no. I mean, you know, we've since N.E.R.D started touring, we noticed that there were a lot of familiar faces at shows over time, and you know, they would just express their gratitude for the fact that Chad, Pharrell, and myself came together and put out this timeless, experimental, fearless sound. Um, and of course, there would be some that be like, yo, I'm such a huge fan of yours. And then they'd turn around to my comrades and say, I'm such a huge fan of yours, um, but yeah, no. I mean, listen, to, I'm quite sure there are. When I think about my favorite bands, there is one that I always gravitate to, from the Beatles to Nirvana to the Stones to you know, EPMD to, I mean, Tribe Called Quest. The list goes on. So yes, I definitely know there's probably some that resonate more with me than with my partners. But I think overall, I think they really appreciate the fact that we encourage, so many people and so many kids that were, you know, doubting themselves, you know, to you know, use that doubt and that fear as tailwind instead of headwind.
And are you personally kind of comfortable with that status that you potentially have amongst fans, and also this kind of celebrity status, I guess, that you kind of that it go crosses over into as well when you're doing stuff like this, being on tour, putting records out?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I purposely, chose to play the background and um, not be so much in the forefront. And that was that was designed from the onset. Pharrell, ever since we were kids, he yearned to be what he is today. Pharrell was in high school. He was a joker. He was, into the mix with everyone. He had, you know what I mean? Whereas I was more of a recluse. I didn't really, I was cool, but I was cool with people, but I wasn't that assertive, outgoing type of kid growing up. And then Chad had his niche set of friends who were all collected and musically uh, more so into the music realm of his childhood. So yeah, I mean, I uh, I I like my position I'm in, man. I get to make music with some of the music industry most talented guys that ever touch keys, and we get to do whatever the fuck we want, man. And it's just fun. You know what I mean? Like, of course, with any job there is, the good and the bad perks. And we definitely had our fair share of, adversities along the way. But overall, man, it's I'm the luckiest guy in the world. You
It's
know?
amazing how you seem, as you're saying there, you seem to be three quite different people, individuals.
Hmm.
You all look at things slightly differently, yet when you kind of come together and you put out this music, year after year, it's always amazing. And we see you on tour, and you're always so great together, and obviously you're very close and great friends. It's
Hmm.
amazing how three very different people can kind of come together like that and still be doing this. We're over 15 years later after In Search of, basically.
Right. And I think that that common denominator is the music, is our outlook on how important it is for us to continue to push the envelope and share just a juxtaposed thought process on different encounters, different common encounters that we're all currently going through. Um, so yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun. I mean, we're three big kids, and I don't think we will ever grow up.
And kind of tying into that, there was an interview a little while back when the album came out. I think you did a Complex Con
Hmm.
where you talked about your different roles in the group.
Hmm.
And I think your role, I may be misquoting it very slightly,
Hmm.
but you kind of said your role, you're the kind of person that's still living in the real world. You had your ear to the street still.
Hmm.
How does that manifest itself in the music and when you guys kind of get together and start making stuff?
Um, I think it's necessary for in order to make a in order to make a essential work of art, you really have to, you really have to make sure you cover a lot of ground, especially within the music industry. Sounds are constantly changing. Content is rapidly changing. So, within this space, and being that music is heavily driven by all the other surrounding elements that make this world spin, you have to pay attention to, you got to pay attention to a lot of intel. And with those guys and the amount of, you know, the amount of work that they have to the amount of work that they have to facilitate and take and make sure that things are getting done at a timely fashion. It's hard for them to set aside a proper amount of time to do the due diligence to make sure that we're tapping in on the right things. So I enjoy, like within this process, each creative process before we attack an album is different. But with this particular creative process, there was a lot of conversations about what was going on globally and how the sound of music is changing and how do we morph our punk sound with 808s and and still keep that still keep the actual contents of the song remotely similar to the previous albums, but make sure that it's non-linear at the same time sonically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so um, it was we all play a critical role in the band, and with the constant dialogue that happened in the early stages of the process. um, I think a lot of that, I think creatively, a lot of that was due or spawned. Sonically, I think creatively, that sound was spawned from the dialogue, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then set aside from that, when you're in a band with two incredibly talented musical geniuses that are opposites at times. I mean, this one's going to the left, this one's going to the right, but they're not. I mean, it's not just 5 feet away from you. I mean, they're out there. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need that. You need that middle ground to like just harness that energy back in and try to decipher and find, you know, a better understanding, a more diplomatic understanding. So it's cool. It's cool. I think, you know, having 3 members in a band is cool because it's always someone to help navigate and keep it on track, because it could definitely veer off. And it's not. Listen, sometimes when you veer off, it's great because you're tapping into a new frontier, and it's like, whoa, fuck, that conversation just took this whole sound somewhere else. You know what I mean? But there's times where it could completely derail, and it just doesn't make sense.
And I've got 2 kind of questions relating to that. I obviously won't do them at the same time, but when you're putting an album together and you're all in the room, you've maybe not seen each other for a while, you're back in there. Is it a fairly kind of tight ship, or is it literally ideas, sounds, lyrics being kind of thrown about until something comes together? Or do you kind of go into the studio thinking, this is the direction we want to go, so let's try and piece this together now?
You know, making music isn't like any other job. Every day the energy is different. Every day the vibe in the room is different. So it's not like you're going to a manufacturing job and you clock in and you already know what the steps are going to be each second of the day. You know, sometimes you can go in with the intent of, you know, tackling one thing, and then it diverts, and, you know, you go a completely different direction. But you don't interfere with that energy if it feels magical. You know, when you know when that magic is circulating in a room. So there's no set structure when creating music. Sometimes it could start with a melody. Sometimes it could start with a beat. Sometimes it could start with just someone walking in a room and saying the right thing, and you're like, oh shit, hold that. You know what I mean? Or you could be watching a BBC or CNN clip, or, you know what I mean? It varies so much, man, that for me to just say it's one way,
Yeah,
that would be unjust for music, because music is dimensional and creating it is dimensional. So, yeah.
And when you guys do come together, is, you know, let's just take this project for example, is that an organic process that happens, or does it take one person or 2 people to kind of say, okay, we want to start working on this, we want to put some stuff together, and they kind of drive the project? Or is it just a collective, we're in the right mood, we're in the studio, let's just start working on something?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, normally it's normally a collective. With all the previous albums, it's definitely been a collective. And this last album was a collective too on the tail end. But for the most part, Pharrell and I and Chad had conversations early on. Pharrell started to create he created a lot of the bones of the album. And he just got in this, you know, I guess it's because of the conversations that we were having before we were supposed to go dive into the studio. He tackled a lot of this. He covered a lot of ground beforehand and just laid down a lot of ideas of what he interpreted from the conversations. So, so with this particular project, a lot of you know, a lot of the ideas were not 100% there, but they were there. It was eligible enough to know where the song would, where we could go with the music. And then as we dove deeper, you know, each song started to progress and develop more. And, you know, and that's when Chad and I came in towards the middle, and we wrote it out to the, you know, the final mixes of the album. But normally it's not. That's normally not the case. Normally we're in from the seed of it, and we all three contribute to nurture and watch it grow. Um, in this particular case, he took on a lot of. He carried out a lot of the early stages of the lifting.
Okay. I realise we're over time already, so a couple of really quick questions for you. Don't want to keep you too long.
Yeah.
I had one. These are a little bit more personal. They're about you, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
One from me, two from my kid, who will kick my ass if I don't ask him.
Okay.
So the one from me. As you already mentioned, you're a fairly private guy. You keep yourself to yourself, away from the limelight generally. What is it that keeps when you're not touring or making the music? What keeps you busy on a day-to-day basis? What's going on in your life generally?
Set aside from family, I've worked on several ventures from tech to music. Currently working on a concept now with this incredibly talented kid named Austin Martin. And essentially what we're doing is providing a tool for kids in areas to expand vocabulary, literacy, and history through hip hop music. And we've done extensive research and figured out methods that teachers can implement this tool into their system to keep kids engaged. We're living in a progressive time right now where the attention span is super short, and in order for teachers to sustain a healthy engagement, they got to figure out ways to find students' interest. You know what I mean? And they have to build. They got to build some sort of innovative, way to, grab these kids' attention. I mean, a lot of the systems in the U.S., a lot of the school mandates haven't been changed for eons. You know what I mean? And, a lot of the school systems, within the U.S., they just feel like if you add an iPad or you add a computer, you're tapping into innovation, and it's deeper than that, So, we know the importance of literacy. So, and we feel like, knowledge is something that can never be taken away. It's priceless. So we want to, equip these kids with this tool, so they can be global citizens, man. And I know these kids are consumed majority of their week with the biggest genre of music, which is hip hop. You know what I mean? So why not? And a lot of these hip hop artists are highly intelligent, are educating these kids. And, a lot of these kids don't know what the hell they're rapping about. They don't know the context of, the way these rappers are using terms and things of that nature. So we just want to educate kids and get them ready for the real world.
That's really great to hear. I do love the fact that you're working on something like that. I know like Pharrell has his ventures, and Brent that I speak to semi-regularly, he has his iBook, and that my kid loves, deconstructing Happy and rebuilding it and all that kind of stuff. Actually teaching kids how to learn something, how to do something. It's really great.
Yes.
So two very quick questions from my kid. They can just be one-word answers, so you can get away and have a rest for a bit.
Okay.
So he is Pessy. He is aged 7. His first question is, my favourite N.E.R.D song is Hypnotize You. Mm-hmm. What is your favourite to perform and why?
I have a new favorite each tour, to be honest. I mean, the early stages, when we just had In Search Of, I used to enjoy performing Run to the Sun. And Fly or Die, it would be She Wants to Move. And Seeing Sounds, it would be Spaz, or Everyone Knows. Nothing, it was Oh man.
Is that a hard one? I remember your recent comments about that album.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few diamonds in the rough on that
Yeah,
album,
for sure,
it
for
was,
sure.
but it was just such a it was a dark time for the band. It was really creatively rough and emotionally rough. So, but there's a couple of songs on that album that were incredible. I'm gonna tell you another good song that I enjoyed was God Bless Us All. Boom, 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 doo, 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 boom. That was incredible.
Hmm.
Um, and with this particular album, I like 1000. I think 1000 is a great record. I like, I like the intensity of this album a lot. I feel like it's just so fucking unorthodox to the ear, the common ear, and it's cool, to be able to put out new and refreshing energy out here amongst all these other incredible, great young musicians. Um, so it's fun. It's fun. So, but I don't have one particular
Yeah,
song over the, over the decade of touring that we've
yeah.
done. Um, but it changes all the time. But the good thing about it is we have such a good bag of fucking songs to choose from
You got
that
classics for days,
right that is cool.
for sure.
Yeah.
And his final question are, okay, see if you can get this one. Are there any songs that you've made that never actually make the set list but you wish did?
Yeah, of course. There's a ton of songs. Things are getting better. Um, shit. There's a ton of songs. Victory is an incredible song. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it N.E.R.D is such a festival band that we don't have a lot of freedom to dive into, the you know, the the favorites. A lot of
Yeah.
people's favorites on
I
the
know.
album.
I know. Every time I see you, when I go with somebody, they're always like, "Shit, they did not play
Right,
XXX that I was waiting for." And it's always something different with every gig, every
right,
festival. Someone will always say, "But what the fuck happened to this or that?" And
right.
there's always something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
And we
testament
tend,
to your output.
yeah, no, for sure. And we tend to dive into those records on like N.E.R.D tours, like the more intimate settings. We'll dive into like some of the Bobby Janes and the Providers and things of that nature because we know that the core fans would want to hear those records. But in festivals, we just it's such pandemonium, man, and those people come out to really just jump up and down and mosh and just have a fucking good time and let go. So we want to provide that soundtrack for them to release.
Yeah,
So,
I know full well that I'll be at the side of the stage later tonight, and if there was the opportunity where somebody said, "What should we play next?" I'd be screaming those random obscure things that you're never going to play in a million years, but you probably want to, but you're not going to.
right, 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 right.
But I think that's it. I'm going to have to let you go because I know we've kind of overrun the time, and I don't want to get either of us in trouble. And I think you need to probably prepare for later on as well. I know it's a hectic schedule at the moment.
No, for sure. But listen, I want to thank you and your son for the time and the questions and I appreciate you, sharing our music with him because he's essentially gonna, pass it on and spread the word. And I feel like, our messages and our sound need to be heard, you know. So thank you.
Yeah, well, no, I have to say it's my honour to do so.
Hmm.
I'm a fan. You guys, I won't use the term "you've changed my life" in any kind of way, or anything, but
Hmm.
your music you have actually helped make has been the soundtrack to my adult life, essentially.
Okay.
And I hear your songs every day. They have 1,000,001 memories attached to them. And I have to say thank you to you, and the people that listen to this podcast will want to say thank you to you. I'm sure I can speak for them on this occasion. So we really, really do appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Cool.
Until we meet again.
Thank you. Hi guys, Steve here again. Hope you enjoyed that interview, and once again a massive thanks and massive shout out to Shae and all of the team around him for making that happen. If you want to hear more about what happened at the festival and meeting Pharrell and Chad and the conversations we had, then keep an eye on the website, which is theothers.net. That's Others with a Z. And subscribe to the podcast. Obviously, we'll be talking about this stuff in a couple of weeks. But if you keep an eye on the website, you'll get everything there, including hopefully soon an album full of pictures and videos from the event itself. In the meantime, again, check out the other episodes, check out the website for all of the show notes and information on how to contact us and support us and stuff like that. If you want to support us directly, you can go to patreon.com/others, again, Others with a Z, or you can follow us on Instagram at Others Podcast. And also on Instagram, I am Steve R. Penny, and you can also follow Mr. King of Creams himself, David Travis, at King of Creams. That's it for now, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.